you're in position to give this a shot. I'm Jim Inkster, and our guest today is the President and Chancellor of LSU, Dr. Tom Galligan. This is an unprecedented meeting of the Press Club, our first virtual meeting. And Dr. Galligan has consented to this, and he is more equipped to handle this than I. So we're going to make this work one way or some way somehow. And Tom Galligan's a guy who's run 24 marathons, so I'm sure he can figure this out if we have any kinks. But he took office officially on the 1st of January, succeeding King Alexander. 13 days later, LSU won the 4th national championship in football. We'll talk a little about football too. But there are many questions about the future of higher education and how it will fare amid this coronavirus pandemic. Dr. Galligan has the floor. He knows how this works. He's going to talk for a few minutes, and then we'll take questions. So, Dr. Galligan, welcome to the Press Club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I turning on recording capabilities?
Are we ready to record?
Are you?
We need to be able to record the screen, but because I have to get permission from the host.
Okay, you can record.
Well, you need to setting. It's a setting. You need to enable it.
Okay. That's where Hannah comes in. Hannah, are you there with Dr. Galligan?
She says she's allowing permission, yes.
Okay.
She wants to know who needs the ability to do the recording.
This is WBRZ.
WBRZ.
It's still saying I need permission from the host, but you know what? I'm not going to impede, so go ahead.
Okay, and she'll keep working on it.
Okay.
Okay. Jim, we ready to roll?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Thank you. Well, good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me to speak with you today. And I'm excited to be making a little bit of history, as this is the first virtual meeting in the 51 years of the Press Club's existence. But I'd rather be with you, but even though we are physically distant, I know we're socially connected. I'm going to talk very briefly about LSU and our COVID-19 story. I'm going to use a timeline format, more or less. And I'm going to go back to the very first moment, because the theme of my talk is going to be that from that very first moment, LSU has indeed been fighting the good fight against Corona and supporting people of the state of Louisiana and working to make lives better and to save lives. That first moment was literally about 2 weeks after we won the national championship in football. It was January 28th. And the first death from coronavirus was being reported in China. And 1 week after that, the first reported case in the United States. And literally then we began planning in earnest at LSU about what would our responses be to COVID-19. About a month after that, and we were planning the whole time, we issued what has become many broadcasts to our students, faculty, and staff about the virus. The next day, the U.S. State Department issued a travel advisory to Italy. And Italy at the time had 1,000 confirmed cases. We immediately made the decision to ask our students who were studying there to come home and self-quarantine for 2 weeks. That same day, the governor presided over Louisiana's first United Command group meeting about the state's response. At that time, there were still no reported cases in Louisiana. It was then that our LSU leadership in Baton Rouge began holding daily conferences about our COVID-19 response. Practice that continues to this day. We will meet today at 1 o'clock, although we have in the last couple of weeks begun to take Sundays off. On March 6th, I spoke with leaders of all of the 8 campuses in the LSU family, and we decided that we needed to see each other once a week. We've since upped that to twice a week. So cooperation among the 8 jewel and the LSU crown has never been closer than it is at this moment. March 9th, well after a month after we began our planning at LSU, the first confirmed case was reported in Louisiana. Let me say that date again, March 9th. We launched a collaborative website at LSU about the virus, about staying clean, about washing your hands, about sneezing and coughing into your elbow, and about how to stay safe. By that time, we were also being told, do not engage in non-essential travel. And even though I am a huge LSU basketball fan, I decided that day that traveling to Nashville to the SEC men's basketball tournament was not essential travel. So we canceled that trip, and we also canceled a weekend jaunt to New Hampshire to see our 3-week-old grandson Gilbert. FaceTime was going to have to be enough. March 11th was particularly eventful. There were 13 confirmed cases in the state, none in Baton Rouge, and 1,250 cases in the whole U.S. That day at LSU, we met to discuss going to a remote learning environment. At 5:30, the governor declared a public health emergency. That was about the same time that some of us gathered at an event to say goodbye to King Alexander and to celebrate his presidency. It was a great event, cut short for me because I had to go out to the parking lot and get on the phone to have a conference call with SEC leadership. On that call, we decided to play men's and women's basketball tournaments without fans. Later that night, literally that night, the NBA suspended its season, and the NCAA said there would be no fans at March Madness. The next day, the SEC presidents and chancellors were back on the phone again, and we canceled the SEC tournament altogether. Later, all of March Madness was called off, and almost simultaneously, we canceled all spring sports. Life as we knew it had changed, and things were moving very, very quickly. On March 12th, after notifying the governor, the LSU Board of Supervisors, our chancellor, faculty senate leadership, and others, we announced that we would be moving to remote classes beginning March 30th. We also told anybody who was going to be traveling over spring break to please rethink their plans and don't travel if it isn't essential. On March 13th at LSU, we canceled all on-campus events of 30 or more people through the end of May. That was 2 days before the CDC would recommend limiting gatherings to 50 or fewer people. On March 13th, we started moving as many students as possible off campus. While we initially announced remote learning, we were optimistic that we would keep campus open. Our hope to stay open was short-lived. On March 16th, we finalized our business continuity plans, and as we received those plans at 5 o'clock that day, we literally implemented them. It was like Rick and Sam leaving Paris in the movie Casablanca. Later, the governor announced his stay-at-home order. On March 20th, the crisis hit home for us when we had our first confirmed case. That student has now happily recovered. To put it lightly, transitioning to remote working, online education was a Herculean task. And I just want to take my hat off and thank our faculty, our staff, and our students. Our faculty have worked tirelessly to move to a remote learning environment. Our staff, whether IT staff, residence life staff, facility services, the people who keep us clean, LSU PD, literally everyone made it happen. And the students have been fantastic. Listening, staying safe, getting the word out. Moving on March 24th, we proactively postponed commencement. And I want to emphasize that word postpone. We are not canceling commencement. We are going to celebrate the class of 2020 in a big, appropriate way, but only when it is safe to do so. And friends, safety has been our guiding light throughout. We have tried to make every decision based on the safety of our faculty, staff, and students. By the end of March, as we were into an online environment and we began our classes online, we began to focus on shifting to assisting in the testing for COVID and treating those who had contracted it. Of course, by that point, our healthcare professionals in New Orleans and Shreveport were already working around the clock to treat patients, and they continue to do so. By late March, testing was ramping up, but you will remember it was taking about a week to get test results back. Well, thanks to the work of two of our Baton Rouge LSU researchers who had recognized the threat of the virus early on, they had established the River Road Testing Lab at the School of Veterinary Medicine and put it to work over the course of a single week. By March 24th, the lab was returning test results within 24 hours. On March 25th, the LSU Health Sciences Center in Shreveport's emerging viral threat lab for analyzing tests became fully operational. It is able to conduct 1,500 tests a day and to return results in 24 hours. On March 30th, our students and faculty began online classes and reported no major issues. Meanwhile, in Shreveport, they were planning on increasing ICU capacity for COVID patients by 60%. Shreveport, LSU Health Sciences Shreveport, had also decided to graduate their doctors and healthcare providers early so that they could join the workforce in the fight against coronavirus. And they did just that on April 13th. By that time, we had begun COVID testing at Health Sciences in New Orleans as the number of cases in the U.S. rose 30%. On April 1st, we announced summer courses and intercession will be taught online. The next day, researchers at our Health Science Center in New Orleans started clinical trials involving hydroxychloroquine and later added clinical trials involving Z-Paks. Days later, Health Sciences in Shreveport became one of the first hospitals in the nation to offer inhaled nitric oxide to COVID patients as part of an ongoing clinical trial. It also became the first in the state to test the plasma treatment. On April 4th, we signed off on a plan to begin producing PPE at LSU at the PMAC. When I called Scott Woodward in the athletic department and said, Scott, we want to use the PMAC as a production facility for our new manufacturing division, he said, go for it. That is the best use of the facility. We are now able to produce 1,000 gowns and 1,000 masks a day. And the other day, GOSEP picked up 3,000 gowns and 2,800 masks for distribution to healthcare workers. LSU-A will also soon begin producing PPE. Outside of the PMAC, we're working hard on other venues. The chemistry professor and graduate students are making hand sanitizers. A professor at Manship has developed a website to help the public identify misleading and incorrect information about the virus. Our College of Music and Dramatic Arts has launched an online series of performances in educational instruction during the stay-at-home order. The Ag Center, which is literally all over the state in every one of Louisiana's 64 parishes, is researching, donating PPE, working with farmers, industry, and crawfishers. They are also offering virtual 4-H to thousands of 4-H students throughout the state. Our tremendous Pennington Biomedical Research Center, a key institutional player in research on chronic illness and nutrition, has been donating PPE, engaging in community outreach through the business report and other venues. Doctors and faculty at Pennington and elsewhere at LSU are playing key roles on the governor's task force on COVID-19 and health disparities, a critical issue today and going forward. At LSU A, E, and S, everyone is teaching remotely, caring for students, donating PPE, and more. LSU has always been a part of people's lives in Louisiana, a positive part of their lives. Crises like these pose challenges and disruptions, but they have also brought us together. We are, as I said before, in more contact with one another and with the other university systems in the state of Louisiana than we have ever been before, and we continue in the fight. I watched TV this morning and I heard that what I'm going to talk about in part is the future, our classes and looking ahead. So let me devote just a couple of minutes to those issues. I've been teaching for 30-some years, and it took me a few years to realize that the best answer to some questions is the most honest answer of all, which is, I don't know. And looking into the future and dealing with the many issues we face, I'll be honest with you, I don't know. But we will make the best decisions possible based on the best data available. Our guideposts will be safety and fulfilling our teaching, research, and service missions. We know there's going to be financial uncertainty. We know there's going to be financial disruption. We are engaged in planning for that disruption now. I've asked everyone throughout LSU to analyze what they would do if there was a 5% reduction in state contribution and a 10% contribution in state support. When we get those plans in, we will analyze them and we will continue to decide what it is we have to do as we know more. What I do know is we can't control the state budget, but what we can control is our recruitment and our retention. And right now, we are setting records for applications to the flagship in Baton Rouge. We have record numbers of applications, record numbers of deposits, and record numbers of students participating in virtual, what we call spin events, which are events for admitted students. So we're going to work hard to bring those students to LSU, which gets me to the fall. Are we going to be open in the fall? We are absolutely planning on being open in the fall. We need to get back to business, but we need to get back to business safely. So right now, yes, we are planning to be back in the fall. Will some large classes probably be online instead of in a big lecture hall? Probably. Will other classes, smaller classes, probably be in bigger rooms? Probably. But we will do everything we can to get back to campus, to get back to school, and to do so safely. Our return to work before school starts again will be gradual. We're not going to turn every light on in the house at the same time. We will probably turn one room on at a time as we reboot when it is safe to do so. And now I know, what about football? What about sports? Well, sports in Louisiana and at LSU are a key part of our culture. There's something that we enjoy and something that we love. And again, as with going back to school, we hope to God that we will be back to football and to sports. But how are we going to do it? We are going to do it safely. In the meantime, I've watched the last football season several times. Every time I watch it is wonderful. And I thoroughly enjoyed watching the NFL draft the other day and the fabulous appearance and reappearance of so many of our athletes. Let me, as I close by thanking our faculty, staff, and students for everything that they have done. Let me also thank you in the media. You've done important and fabulous work, and we really, really appreciate it. And now I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Jim, back to you, as they say on the news. You're on. Okay.
So, when you say football, does that mean September 5th, or does that mean sometime after that?
I think the best answer to that is when it's safe, and whether it's September 5th, September 12th, or thereafter. We won't come back until it's safe, and there are smarter people than me all over America analyzing those issues and scheduling issues right now.
Does that mean?
I will say, Jim, I meet with the SEC chancellors and presidents about once a week. We spend at least an hour together on the phone, and there's a whole lot of planning going on.
Will you have the stadium full of fans, or will there be some alteration in that matter?
You know, I hate to sound like a bad pop song and keep singing the same chorus, but it all depends on what's safe.
Well, how important is it with football being the generator of revenue for all the other sports, for this season to be played as it has been in previous years?
I think it's important to play the season, and will it be played as it has been played in previous years? I wish Scott were here to opine on this too. No, it may be a little bit different in some ways, but I think it's important to play the season, and I hope we do so. And not just for the revenue aspect of it, the spirit of it for those of us who live in Louisiana. It's really important.
You think so?
I want my morale lifted. Yeah, I'm an optimist, but I want my morale lifted.
Okay, are there questions for Dr. Gallagher?
I'd like to commend him for being so results oriented. I mean, it was just delightful to hear that for the first time in many years that everyone at LSU seemed to cooperate and rally around and create a synergy that our state really needs. So I really do commend you as the catalyst for helping to make it happen.
Well,
you have a question?
I would say thank you on that front, and yeah, do you have a question? I don't mean to.
Yeah. Well, I was just commending. I mean, I think it's outstanding. It was delightful, and I'm an optimist too. Sometimes that's a challenge to keep that attitude.
Well, Jim, let me just say thank you to those kind words, and I'm proud of everybody I work with. They prop me up all the time. I got a wonderful team, and they deserve all the credit. But I think one of the things that they've proven through this is that a university can be nimble as can be, and we have been nimble. And I think another thing that they've shown and we've shown is what we've done are the fruits of research, and it's research that's practically oriented, and it's research that's made a tangible, positive difference in people's lives. So some people sometimes, in my 30 plus years in higher ed, say, you need to act more like a business. And I'll be honest with you, I sometimes think, does that mean I get to fly first class? I don't. These days, I'm going to be saying to some folks, you need to act more like a university. So thank you.
All right, I think we have a raised hand for a question.
I have one.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is Dan Upgar from the Mansion Pool. Dr. Gallagher, I'm delighted you singled out our website. But here's my question. Are you considering moving the start of classes back from the August date, maybe to Labor Day or something like that? And when you say you're talking about opening things a room at the time, can you elaborate? What do you mean by that? Are we talking about staggered opening of classes?
Yeah, that was a metaphor. The turning the lights on one room at a time was a metaphor.
I thought it might be, but with the metaphors, I thought I'd ask.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Because I'm a lawyer, I'm not a poet, so maybe I should be the proper metaphor. Yes, we are looking at start dates for class, again, depending on what's safe. Right now, we're where we normally are. We have the date set, but if in fact we decide maybe we need to start class September 5th, September 15th, we'll do that. There are options. There are hybrid options as well, which is class could start remotely maybe September 1st or August 15th, but then we're back on campus a little bit later than that. So we are literally going to consider all the options so that when we understand the safety of the disease better and the return to work, we'll be able to do that. My metaphor on one room at a time was not so much with classes as it was with us physically getting back to work. That I think we won't see LSU going from closed to open overnight. That'll be a gradual process. You know, we've got labs that people probably may need to get back to first. I can write law books wherever I am. I can be in Phoenix as long as I have the internet. So that's,
What about on-campus life in terms of dormitory and dining facilities? How are you thinking about that?
we're thinking about that in exactly the same ways. We're analyzing where are the residence halls that have common bathrooms. Those are the ones that maybe we take careful look at. Is that a safe place to be? If everybody has to have their own bathroom, what does that do to our capacity? What does that do to our numbers? So again, the same thing. The level of planning that folks are engaging in is truly impressive.
Well, as a faculty member, I will just say one thing. I greatly appreciate the technical support you've given us. 7 days a week at one point, extended hours. That was indispensable.
Well,
Don't discount that now that we've all got it kind of figured out, because there'll be more questions as we move along. But that was a huge plus.
Thank you. And I mean, IT knocked it out, and Sasha Thackerberry and the online folks have been incredibly supportive in this. And that we had an online initiative in progress, a significant online initiative, I think really worked in our benefit through this.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Can I follow up with one quick one? The governor's guidance, do you have, what kind of guidance is he giving you to plan on or to think about in terms of the state contribution?
He's giving us the guidance as you, I mean, we're in regular contact with him, but I don't have any hints as to what we might hear later today.
All right. Carmen, do you have a question?
Yes, sir. Could you tell me if will there be changes to admission requirements? A lot of graduating seniors haven't been able to take the SATs. Also, discount rates for the fall tuition?
We will, there will probably be some adjustment to options of can you take the ACT later as opposed to soon. I mean, obviously ACT, it has been canceled. So now we're looking at June, we're looking at maybe July. So I think we'll probably have some folks who are taking it later, and I definitely anticipate that. And as I said, right now our numbers are fantastic. But we know Carmen, there are families who are going to be financially affected by COVID. And so I would anticipate that may have some impact on our financial aid packages and the implications for what those will be.
Mark Ballard, are you there?
Maybe if I figured out how to use this thing, all right. Hear me okay?
I hear you.
So what are LSU's plans for using the CARES Act money? How much money is going to be distributed to students? How much of the money is going to be distributed, and how will it be distributed to students?
Yeah. Mark, all the campuses are finalizing their plans on how they'll distribute the CARES Act Round 1 money right now. Across all of LSU, we received $27.1 million in CARES money. 18 million of that was allocated to the flagship campus. Half of the total, so what's 13.55 million, 65 million, and has to be distributed directly. We're coming up with plans as to how to do that. We'll retain some of that first half for the summer and the fall because we anticipate continued student need. That there will and we haven't distributed yet. We haven't finalized those plans, but the allocations were made in large part based on the number of Pell eligible students on campus. So need will be a big factor in how we make those distributions. We will also probably have a category for folks who, as we look at their FAFSA forms now, might not look like they have need, but because of a family member or family members losing a job, that they have need after that, and we will let them apply for aid in that regard. So that'll be one half of those funds. The other fund, again, all the first wave of relief from CARES are COVID response based. So those will go to other COVID related expenses that we have, and we haven't finalized our plans on that yet either. And if you'll permit me, I just want to let everybody know, so far none of the federal funds has gone to preserve research. And so the research institutions and our research arm have not received any CARES relief packages. That's particularly challenging for Pennington and the Ag Center, who do not have students, but who have had real financial costs as a result of COVID-19. And again, I apologize, long answer to a short question.
But are you going to stick with the 50-50 split between students and institution?
We haven't decided on the second 50 yet. Definitely 50% will be to student. The other 50 can go to the institution, but I think we'll need to see what the total impact of the disease is on all the students and the institution going forward.
Who has a question?
I have a question. Holly Dutchman with the Business Report. So I know, Tom, that you were saying that there are record numbers of applications and deposits right now for the flagship. Can you share any of those figures with us today? And I was wondering if there was any concern about the retention of out-of-state or out-of-country students when we still have these travel advisories, and you know, it's kind of hard to catch a plane right now.
It's really hard. Holly, I wouldn't guess on the numbers. I would be ballpark. But what I will do is I will ask Jose Aviles if he'll send you the numbers so that you can have the numbers exactly. But we're past all we're over all our goals is what I will say, and he will get you those precise numbers. On the retention, yeah, I'm concerned about retention. We're working hard now to retain all the students that we can. We're going to have a 15% exemption on summer school tuition and fees. Students who had to withdraw from a class, students who may receive a no credit can make up that time in the summer. So we are concerned about that. But I think, Holly, I'll speak as a parent and now a grandparent. As a parent and grandparent, those students are safest at home, and they're safest right now not getting back on a plane. So hopefully they can get back on a plane and get back to LSU in the fall, but now they're in the right place. We do have about 1,000 students who are still living on campus, who couldn't go home, or it was too far or it wasn't safe. We also know that we have international students who are on campus or who are in apartments around the area. International students are ineligible for any CARES funding. So that's a particularly vulnerable group, and Holly, I'm particularly worried about that group of students.
Is the school doing anything to like reach out to those students or help them or assist them in any way?
Yeah, we've Student Life reached out to them. I've talked to the head of the International Students Association a couple of times, check in and just see how everybody's doing. So we've tried to reach out to them in that regard, and we'll continue to do so and use this vehicle to ask them to reach out to us to let us know what more we can do to help.
Okay, thank you. And who did you say would be able to provide those figures?
Jose Aviles, Vice President of Enrollment Management.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
President Galligan, this is Katherine Manuel with the Rev League. I just had a question about those 1,000 students living on campus.
Yes.
What kind of precautions is the university taking to ensure their safety?
Yeah, they're all in apartments at this point, Catherine. No one is in a traditional residence hall. They're all in apartments. Everybody has their own bathroom. If they're still on the dining plan, everything is grab and go. Nobody's in dining halls and eating together. And health services is still open, albeit virtual, so they can reach out for services that they need. And there's limited residence hall staff still on duty. And I saw from the chat that my friend Ernie Ballard is working as we speak to get those numbers to you, Holly.
Thank you.
Catherine, did I answer?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Heather Cushman. I had a question about admission standards for incoming students. Are schools, whether it be in Louisiana or even across the country, in any way talking with each other about coordinating how to evaluate incoming students when we're going to have, we're going to have students that are taking pass-fail courses in their junior year. We're going to have all sorts of different situations. And do you have any idea how schools are going to be looking at the prospective students differently in the coming cycle?
We're all talking to each other about those things, and about how and I think all of us in Louisiana and across the United States have gotten better at reading the full file of a student that a student presents. So, but we're all talking about exactly those things, and we're also talking about that what you just described is all of a sudden my U.S. history of my Algebra 2 class maybe passed fail as opposed to having been taken for 2 days. What's that going to mean? I would predict that we are all going to be more flexible than we might have otherwise been in the past as we learn how to deal with those issues. But that's a great question, Heather.
Thank you.
I have a question, Jim.
Yes.
Tom, I'd understood that at least one of our group of scientists at vet school may be working on a vaccine. Are all of our, I know you mentioned some involved with the different med schools, are all of our scientist groups like that working on a possible vaccine, and then do they coordinate nationwide on their efforts with all of the other labs?
Yeah, yes, John, and I was, by the time I got to that point in my remarks, I was worried about 15 minutes and worrying about your patients, so I was moving fast. Yeah, we do actually have researchers at the vet school and at the health science centers doing research on the possibilities of vaccines. And they are talking to and collaborating with other scientists around the country.
Very good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Galligan, with the state budget being potentially in severe straits, how do you think that will affect higher education?
I think we may well face less funding than we would have hoped for, and we'll react accordingly. As I said, we're already planning for the possibility of less than we would have otherwise had. And, I would say that we've shifted our financial model over the past 12, 13 years from one where we were 80% funded by the state to one where we're significantly less funded by the state. And so maybe one of the things to come out of that is we'll be less adversely affected than we would have been 12 or 13 years ago.
What is the percentage from the state now?
It depends on the unit that you're talking about. It's 20 to 25%. It's higher in some of the other units, higher for Eunice than it is for Baton Rouge. And again, since Ag and Pennington don't have students, they don't have tuition and fees. So state cuts will hurt them too, a little more than they might hurt us.
Specifically, how might cuts to the TOPS program impact LSU or the overall budget?
I'm sorry, I heard TOPS.
I was just wondering how, to elaborate on Jim's question, how might cuts to the TOPS program impact the LSU overall budget, or just
Yeah, I don't think any one. I don't anticipate an impact to TOPS right now, but any impact to TOPS doesn't affect LSU's budget directly, since that's money that the student uses to pay tuition and fees. It affects the students and the families more than it affects us. It affects us indirectly in that if someone decides, if I don't get all my TOPS, I can't go to LSU, or if I can't go to ULL or whatever school I choose, then it affects us that way, but it affects us indirectly, not directly.
Can I ask another question, please?
Sure.
Nationally, the higher ed journals were predicting a 15% drop in fall semester enrollment, and that's not happening, you say, at LSU. Is LSU picking up transfer students returning from out of state, and why is that?
Yeah, our transfer numbers are good right now, and I'm not sure if they're from, I can't answer whether they're from out of state or whether they're from in-state, but our transfer numbers are solid right now. And again, as I said, our overall enrollment numbers we're bucking national trends. So for us, I think the work that Jose Aviles and the campus have done over the last 2 years to really make our enrollment effort a 21st century sophisticated method focusing on the academic program, which is what students want, it has served us well and is serving us well right this minute. But my fingers are still crossed because we don't know. To get back to some of your earlier questions.
Well, if someone transfers from another state, will they be able to pick up TOPS if they're coming in second, third year?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I would need a TOPS expert. Ernie maybe can help me with that one too. I think if they're a Louisiana resident, don't they still have TOPS eligibility left?
Be more for LASFA, but our board of regents might be able to help with that. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I just posted in the chat, we've received exceeded 28,000 applications for the fall. And to compare, last year we received 24,000. So we're up about 4,000 over the total applications received last year.
Thank you, Ernie.
Thank you, Ernie. Dr. Galligan, are you prepared to keep the position you're in for as long as LSU has it open and perhaps beyond?
Jim, I'm prepared to keep the position I have as long as LSU needs me. You know, when I came back to Louisiana in 2016, my goal was to get back to the LSU Law Center where I had started my teaching career and to lead the Law Center to its next stage of greatness and to teach courts and teach admiralty, and I was having a great time doing that. But I'm learning a lot in this position now, and I'm inspired by the people around me. So you know, I'll keep going as long as they need me. But I promise I'm going home to the Law Center at some point.
Ginger, did you have a question?
I was just wondering for Ernie if those numbers were just undergraduate numbers or if that was graduate as well, just because I'm the vet school, so I always tend to think, about grad numbers. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Jose deals strictly with undergrad, so I was just curious.
I'm thinking those are the undergrad numbers only, Ginger, but we will confirm.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Tom Galligan? Mr. President, I think you're through for today. You
All right. Well,
have any parting comments?
Thank you. No, only please have me back when we can see each other in person. And again, I thank everybody in the LSU community. And go Tigers. Stay safe, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks everybody for participating.